Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Unscripted and Unchained RPG Review. I am Game Master Bloodworth, and as you can see by the graphics, today is going to be one of those, controversial, I guess, videos where I will be addressing the recent sponsorship controversy going on amongst many content creators on YouTube primarily, involving, what does the WOTC sponsorship controversy, say about them? And the reason why I wrote it this way here is, what does that WOTC sponsorship controversy say about Hasbro and WOTC? I think is, possibly an equally important, if not a more important question to ask, because having watched many of these, and I will go through all of those that I've watched, so I have seen Dungeon Crafts, the Professor Dungeon Master's response to the controversy, and the questions about, and this has been going on Twitter X as well, whether or not someone should take a sponsorship, and are they selling out? And I've seen all of these different tags, attached, or very very clickbaity lines, which, hey, that's the nature of the game sometimes, so and perhaps mine is going to do the same thing as well. um, but I watched Dungeon Craft's video on it, and I think he's made more than one. I've watched Bob the World Builder's video on it as well, and I watched D&D Shorts, and I watched Dungeons and Discourse. And Dungeons and Discourse I'm saving for last in this, because I first came up with my question here of what does it say about Hasbro and WotC, and that's something that only Dungeons and Discourse actually covered as well near the tail end of the video on this. So let me get into what the actual controversy is, and whether or not you think it's a controversy or not is entirely up to you. The controversy is that Wizards of the Coast reached out to certain content creators on YouTube, and basically, would you like to get a copy of the new Player's Handbook? And there was an NDA involved where they wouldn't disclose it until a certain date, or at least go into in depth until a certain date. And this was not a paid, paid review copy of it, with the intent of you know, um, getting a good review. And it was explicit in that, at least I know on Bob the World Builder's video, he actually showed the email that was involved, and they were very direct and said, this does not mean that we expect a certain kind of response to the product. It's just, will you preview it, in essence, on the channel, and it's kind of a promotion of the product, an advertisement of the product without an endorsement of the product. And I'm going to go through several different aspects of doing what some of us do, and I'm not putting myself in the same category as those channels, because I am tiny, tiny, tiny in comparison to them. However, I have had offers to take a look at things. Let's put it that way. And so I'm going to break it down into the way that I have encountered similar things, or at least how I identify similar things that I haven't directly encountered, such as, would you do a paid review? All right, I've never been paid to review anything, and I probably wouldn't accept it, just as just as a form of my own kind of integrity. I don't do this as a sole source of income. I'm a retiree. I do this as a hobby. Although it's nice to make the, $30, $40 a month that I'm getting from YouTube and whatnot, but it's not anything that I am feeding my family with. Let's put it that way. Um, but my experience so far is that I have received draft copies of tabletop role playing, either accessories, adventures, or game systems. And I was asked, "Hey, would you give this a read? And would you, tell me what you think about it? Tell me what you would change. Do you have any questions about it?" And so on and so forth. So I have had that happen several times, and I love doing that. More so than anything else. I love doing that because it gives me an opportunity to see what somebody is working on, and if I can help out in tweaking a few things, because I'm an experienced game master, I'm an experienced player. I have a very diverse um, liking for different types of game systems and different genres of games as well. So I think that I have a fairly in-depth and scope and sequence, as we used to say in education, which is my background. And so I really enjoy doing that, and I won't accept payment for doing that kind of a thing. I just love doing it so much. But I have been given credit in the credits of the finished product, and I'm just as happy with that as anything else. I have been given review copies and said, would you review this? And I always make it very, very clear that yes, I have received this as a review copy, but I will also make sure to purchase the PDF at least for the copy. And this has only happened once, and that someone sent me a free physical copy of a book and asked if I would review it. And like I said, I went and purchased the PDF just to basically say that I put my own money into this as well. So I have some skin in the game. But when I do a review, I'm going to give you the good, the bad, and the ugly. All right, I am not going to give you a 5-star review unless it is genuinely a 5-star game system or product, and there's virtually nothing that rises to that level anyway. So let's be very clear on that. There's always something that I find out. I was like, oh, I wish this was done a little bit better, or the physical copy comes and it's not the greatest condition, or whatever, and sometimes that's just the flaw of shipping or whatnot. But that's one thing. I have received a review copy of something, and then, like I said, I make sure that I purchase at least a portion of it to offset having received it for free. There's a difference between previewing something and reviewing something. All right, and I think that's an important distinction for you to make as a viewer of a YouTube channel when they're talking about, I am just showing off what this game system has to say. I am not endorsing you go out and purchase it. I very, very rarely tell anyone spend your money on this. There's few game systems out there where I will highly recommend you buy, because these things are to taste, right? It's like salt to taste kind of thing, So, but there is a difference between previewing something and reviewing something, and I think that that's an important distinction for you to make as a content creator on YouTube or whatever, when you're looking at these various products coming from different companies as well. So the sponsorships is sort of like a preview, right? So a sponsorship is really like an advertisement, all right? And I've done this before with Kickstarters. Um, I've never had a letter sent to me, hey, we would like to sponsor, we would like to sponsor our product on your or channel. I don't even know how that actually works and how that is done, for the purposes of I'm not going to do because I just don't have the presentation style of doing a sponsorship advertisement, like reading off an advertisement sponsorship kind of thing, like you'd see on some of the channels where the people are much, much more skilled and even professional about doing that kind of thing. I don't have a good radio voice and I don't have a face for television either. So it's like it's not a great combination. I'm giving it to you, my presentations are me, and like it or dislike it, that's really up to you. And there's nothing I can do about that. So sponsorships are advertisements, and I do look at it in the same sense that like when I come across a Kickstarter that I'm really impressed with, and I've backed it myself, and I always make sure to do that. I'm not telling you to buy something. I'm just telling you what I found to be worthy of my money, and you take it where it is at. I've never had any company, certainly of the size of like WOTC, come to me and say, "Hey, we'd like to sponsor a spot on your channel and do that." So then we have Kickstarter boosters, which I've done, often. If I find a Kickstarter that I really do like, I will back it, and then I will pin it or post it to my Facebook page and to my Twitter page and everything. I will advertise that yes, I have backed this product. I don't necessarily come on to this channel and do just a straight up Kickstarter presentation to you unless I'm doing an interview, which is something that I do actually really enjoy doing. I love having people who are, content creators, and they have created a new game supplement or a game system that they have currently in Kickstarter, and I will have them come on and and let them pitch their product to you. Now, to be honest, I am always backed the same thing too, because I don't like to not back something that I'm bringing onto my channel. It's not it's not a thing where I'm encouraging you to spend your money on it just because I have. It's just a sense of I guess not a duty to back something, because sometimes I've backed things I never backed for $1. That's kind of silly, but I will usually back something just for the PDFs if it's something that I'm kind of like, do I want the shelf space, or and take up shelf space for it, or would I rather just have it as a PDF? And that's usually the way that I do that calculus in my head. Is is it worthy of shelf space, or is it something that I like enough to back it as the PDF and do it that way? So I like interviews, and I allow the person to pitch their game to you, or supplement whatever it happens to be. And then finally, I think the highest level of this kind of sponsorship review kind of thing is the paid review. All right, and as I said earlier on, I would most likely never take a paid review. I'd rather have the person come in and just pitch their own game, to you during an interview. All right, and rather than, hey, will you do this commercial for payment for me? Now, I am not saying these things in order to take away or to attack anyone else that are making their own decisions for their channel. Everyone is going to do what is in their best interest. And so, I am not throwing any kind of shade towards anyone for choosing to do any one of these particular things. I think this really is a very personal choice for everyone out there. And, if a company like Wizards of the Coast approached me and said, "Hey, I'll give you," and I know the example on Twitter was, "Hey, if someone offers me," I believe it was Sly Flourish said this, if Wizards of the Coast offered me $500,000 to, pitch the new PHB, I'm gonna take it. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's a crazy amount of money, and so virtually anybody is going to be in the thing like that kind of money. You're not going to turn it down. Let's be serious. But it would have to be some crazy amount, before I'd say, hey, you know what, I'll do it regardless of my taste, what I feel about the company, what I think about the product, so. But now I want to get to the point that I really started off with, all right? And the real gist of this is that what does the WOTC sponsorship controversy say about Hasbro and WOTC? And like I said, Dungeons and Discourse actually covered this near the tail end of the video on this topic as well, and none of the others really did touch upon this. And in my view, it really does show you how toxic Wizards of the Coast, or Hasbro Wizards of the Coast, or sometimes I will call it Wizbro, it really shows how toxic they have become to the broader hobby, where people really want to question, do I really want to touch that thing? Do I really want any association with that thing? And, pre-OGL crisis, I don't think Wizards of the Coast was seen that way. I don't think Hasbro was seen that way. I mean, we started seeing some signs of it, in the, just prior to pre-COVID shutdowns and such, but, it was mostly geared towards, I don't like the direction of the game. I think it says a lot about the way that the trust level of the gaming hobby as a whole, when they look at Wizards of the Coast or Hasbro, and they're inseparable. That's the other thing. I know some of the videos that I watched where they're like, oh, you have to separate D&D from WOTC, and you have to separate WOTC from Hasbro. No, I don't see how you do that or why you should do that. They're all connected, and sure, some people in Wizards of the Coast might not agree with what Hasbro is telling them to do, or even their higher ups within Wizards of the Coast are telling them to do. But the point is that doesn't tell me I should spend my money with them either. That doesn't tell me that I should want that association to my channel by taking a WOTC sponsorship. And the fact that many people that run YouTube channels and have other means of talking about our hobby in general, the fact that we're forced to ask that question, do I really want to touch this thing that's viewed by many to be a toxic corporate entity, and that wasn't there a few years ago, and that is all Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro's doing, and so that's, I think, something that few people have actually taken that that stance on this issue. I think that many people in the comments sections on all of these videos that I've seen were coming at it like, oh, you shouldn't have done that. You shouldn't have accepted a sponsorship. Um, Rather than saying, what does this really say about how toxic Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro as a larger entity, how toxic have they become that we're having these discussions now? You know, I mean, back in the day, it was, growing up as a kid and as a teenager playing Dungeons and Dragons, it was my dream to work for TSR. It was like, it would have been the most incredible thing, for me as a teenager to do. And I'm sure throughout the latter 80s and early 90s and the 2000s and such, working for Wizards of the Coast or working for Magic the Gathering until they were combined at one point, working for working for even Paizo or these other game companies. That was like the dream of a lifetime for people. And I don't think that holds true for Wizards of the Coast today. You know, I don't think that post the OGL anyone is clamoring to work for Wizards of the Coast. And I think that there's something sad about that. There's something that is because it is really a self-inflicted wound, in my opinion, that they still haven't recovered from, and they may not be able to recover from it. That sense of trust is gone, and I think the steps that they're moving forward with in looking to go all in on digital and what that really means for the tabletop role-playing game hobby. D&D still being the primary, the largest, and most recognizable of that, where is that going to be in 2027? All right, which is kind of the deadline for the D&D brand to be a standalone billion-dollar brand. And that's partly why they're going this all-in digital route, is to get to that self-imposed benchmark that they're looking to achieve by them. And there's still a lot of doubt as to, number one, if they can get there. And there's a lot of questions of, well, what happens if they don't? And so, there's just a lot. I mean, there's just a lot of, self-created controversies from both Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro in general that, it really is a toxic, it's a toxic affiliation. Let's put it that way. It's a toxic affiliation that people might not want to, touch with a 5-foot pole. Let's put it that way. So that's where I kind of stand on it. Again, I think that each YouTube channel are going to do what they believe is right for them first. Self-interest always comes first, and then, but also within that choice of, do I accept a sponsorship or I'm going to decline a sponsorship, there are many different layers in between of that, which is why I wanted to make this video. And ultimately, I just think that it's just a sad space that the hobby sees itself in, that Wizards of the Coast is just a questionable relationship, and and hopefully they can turn it around. Hopefully, you know, they can get beyond the push for all digital, and realize that the tabletop role-playing game hobby still warrants some dedication for Dungeons and Dragons in its, in its book form, is still something that's going to be out there for, for us to engage in. So we'll see how that goes. But anyway, thanks for listening in. Feel free to, agree or disagree in the comments section. And as always, I look forward to reading your comments. I look forward to seeing you on the gaming screen or at a gaming table sometime soon. And you all have a great upcoming weekend. And as always, just keep on gaming out there. Keep on experiencing new experiences with new game systems, with new genres. Get out there and play as many different types of games as you can. Run as many different types of games as you can. Run in different modes. I know I had a great conversation with someone on their YouTube channel about, the different ways of interacting with a game system, different modes of presenting it, whether it's in person or, in person at home versus in person at a gaming store versus in person at a convention. In-person tournament play, is another. There's so many different ways to engage in our hobby, and and it's just a matter of finding which ones best fits what you're going to enjoy doing, and that's what I always encourage everyone to do, is to go out there and to try to experience as much as you possibly can within the hobby, and when you find that space that's just the perfect space for you, you're going to play this for 40 years, or more. So keep on rolling those dice. Enjoy. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you.